after months of speculations, the picking of extraction of interest, and nomination funds by the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, to join the race to succeed President Muhammadu Buhari has drawn reaction from politicians, financial experts, lawyers over the impropriety or otherwise of the Apex Bank's chiefs joining the fray. The CBN governor has been under intense pressure to resign since then, with many raising concerns about the potential conflicts of interest in his possible involvement in politics. Emefiele's response has raised controversy on the morality and legality of a sitting CBN governor's participation in a partisan process, the extent to which this has breached the CBN Act, and if a case of conflict of interest can be established. On Daybreak this morning, we will now dwell more on this implication on the economy and investors' confidence, and we have in the studio with us a senior economist with SPM professionals, Mr. Paul Alaje. I hope I got that correctly. Thank you very much and for finding time to be with us in the studio to throw light on this issue. We have seen quite a number of drama around the persona of the Apex Bank of Nigeria, with people with varying positions with regards to whether or not it is even appropriate that somebody in that office should be associated with this kind of movement. You are an economist, you are a professional, you are daily in the business of gauging investors' confidence and looking at the numbers. What does his candidature portend for all of these indices?
Okay, so from what we've gathered, Mr. Emefiele has shown interest, even though in the public space, he has not by himself said he's running. So that still gives room for maybe speculation. But from all indication, group have mentioned his name. We have seen vehicles branded, with description of his face on some of those things, which means that there is high level of possibility that Mr. Emefiele may be running for office. Constitutionally, can Mr. Emefiele run? I think from the little thing I know about law, yes. I think he may want to run for office. But combining economy, because when a medical doctor makes a mistake over a patient, you may lose a life, or maybe the family attached to him may suffer. But when a policymaker, especially monetary policymaker, makes mistake, it's going to affect the entire economy. For our economy, we are over 200 million. It's going to have tremendous impact on our exchange rates, on our pricing, inflation, and so on and so forth. So central bank itself, the central bank governor is an office. It's not called central bank chairman. It's central bank governor. That is not just for speaking sake. The job, the requirement to lead the Apex Bank, and it did not stop there, even the head of monetary policy committee, it's a major assignment on its own that will be very difficult to combine with any political activity. Not even the position of a chairman or a councillor of a ward, because it's a sensitive position that a central bank governor is occupying. So from what we've gathered, Mr. Emefiele is saying he's not running. He's not saying he's running or he's not running. But if you go by what has been filed in court, there are indications that he may run. If he runs while still in office, will it have implication on the economy? Yes. It's going to have a major implication on the economy. We've seen INEC said, we are not sure we can trust electoral materials being warehoused in CBN when the head of CBN is an interested party. Beyond those, what would the investor say? Investor who may be interested in certain regards. Now, before you go to investor outside Nigeria, that's foreign investor, let's look at local investors. Someone who may be a member of APGA or a member of SDP, or the major opposition party at the federal level, the PDP. The person may say that he's not getting access to FX for official demand because he feels that the governor is a member of APC. And these are the reasons why we say that the central bank head must be independent. It must be apolitical. Yes, he can go and vote. He may even be a member of political party without people knowing, just to express his interest. But when we make it public, it's going to cause a lot of insinuation. If someone is having issues with a party member in a state, and such person has something to do with central bank or with the banking system, the person may be afraid that, hey, their own is the central bank governor. It's not going to be free and fair. So while Mr. Emefiele has tried his best, if you ask me, as monetary policy authority, he has tried what he could do. We have seen policy here, policy there. Whether the policy yield result is a different kettle of fish entirely. But we've seen that of three major legs of economy, the fiscal, the monetary, and trade, among the three, he's still the one that have always come out to speak with the media, to give position, to share his opinion, and also to put one or two things together. But will his contest, while still in office, affect foreign investor? The answer again is yes. Okay. Just the way it will affect local investors, it's also going to affect foreign investors, because foreign investors will sense bias. And it is not just members of APC, political party, that will convince foreign investors. In fact, opposition can take this outside Nigeria and say, you want to invest in our country? You want access to FX? Come on. The chief of central bank is a member of the other party. And I can tell you, so it gives room for a lot of speculations, which we may not like. So if the governor wants to resign and run for office, why not? If not. But while in office and still wants to be president, I think we need to check it properly before we look at it. So for now, he has not said he's running, and I will take it as that, because there is no clip, there is no statement, there is no word that I can say the governor has said he's running or he's not running for office.
Just a quick one before my colleague comes on board. You had made it clear that if he chooses to run while in office, it will have an effect, and that is established. But what about this uncertainty that surrounds whether or not he would run? I know that that's a letter that has given up to Monday, but the fact that there is no clarity coming from him, at first he responded and said he's still consulting and praying about it. And then he shows up at the presidential villa and says there will be news. Whether or not it will be a positive or negative, we're not sure. But the mere fact that he has continued to keep Nigerians in abeyance, or people who want to make investment move or decisions, because, I mean, these things are made on a daily basis and on the hour. From the numbers you have seen, from the behavior of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, or from the behavior of the bond market, maybe we may not be able to gauge influx with regards to foreign direct investment right now. Have we seen any kind of reaction by these indices yet because of this uncertainty around his candidature?
Well, the indices are worse off already. If you are looking for something, unemployment rate is 33.1%, you know, of the labor force, not of the entire population. Population is about 206 million. Labor force is barely 70 million. So a bit less than 70 million, to properly speaking. So if you have 33% of less than 70 million, and you have 136 million that are not even qualified to work, what more indices are we looking for? That's on one side. And you may say, oh, that is more fiscal oriented, it's not so much. What happens to inflation? Official figure, 15.9%. Meanwhile, my personal inflation is above 33%. From the basket of goods I consumed last year, when I compare to the basket of goods I consumed this year, and I run year on year of my consumer price index, it's over 33%. So what more do we need? Exchange rate, what was it, 4 years ago? What is exchange rate today? So if we are now still running office with all of the indicators that are horrible, that are not good enough, central bank expectation is that the inflation rate will be within single digits, not more than 9%. But what we have is 15%. We have had 18% twice, So I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that running while in office will even be a good precedent for other central bank governors. Mr. Emefiele may have good intent, intention may be clear, but if he set this precedent, it may affect all other persons coming in future. That said, again, the fact that there are no clarity, we are not sure whether he's running, the way he engages the media, and so on and so forth, something seems to be certain. the governor seems to be interested. But whether the principal will allow the governor to run is another thing entirely. So I think the investors should also wait. APC primary is good enough. It's coming up very soon.
In a fortnight.
So we'll now see whether Mr. Emefiele will be one of the candidates to run. And when he runs and he steps down, well, he's been able to push through to the primaries and see. But I know that President Buhari will not want someone to be in office while he's still a candidate of his party, because it can't even work together. You can't be a candidate and be running office. Definitely such person is not even serious about his program. So we have just a few days to the primaries, then we can see how to cross the bridge when we get there.
Well, for me, it's more personal than technical. When you first, saw that speculation or heard the news of his pronouncement and all of that, what came through your mind? Well,
I think as a state, there are people who might not put this state first. I feel that if we put this country first and we want people to behave the way we would have behaved, there are some things that are not just necessary. If you look at previous elections, we have seen people who are interested in office and they're occupying office. I'm not talking of this year or last year or 4 years ago. Several elections date back, early 2000s. People willingly would resign and discuss with their principal, either at the state or federal level. They have political interest. But in recent time, we have started seeing people, while in office, going to run for primaries. And if they win primary election, then they will resign. Some even forget to resign, and they still run. At the end of the day, when they become elected, before they are swearing in, then they go resign. I don't think it's good enough. I think we should be, I think also the Constitution or the Act should be very clear. It should be clearly stated. So you know that if you eat your cake, you cannot have it. But people want to eat here and also gain on the other side. I think the president is in the right position. We have read what the SGF mentioned, but whether that is going to be enforced is another thing entirely. But we will just wait and see how the whole thing play out in the coming days.
Staying with Emefiele, whether or not he chooses to resign now, as it were, or not, the fact that he has indicated interest, the fact that he has showed up in court, with those big lawyers trying to argue out technicalities that would enable him run. Should he decide to stay in, don't you think that has already impacted the way he will be perceived going forward? The idea that whilst in office he was a member of a political party or showed interest in activity, is this not enough whether or not he's moving forward to vacate that office? Okay,
before I answer that, the time given to those that are holding office to resign
is Monday.
It's Monday. APC convention, APC primaries will come
in a fortnight.
So will that really hold? I'm just checking it. Are we really telling them to step down, or you could withdraw after losing or winning? So I'm even looking at the politics of the statements. It seems very political, because it's very easy for us to put it on social media, to put it on the headlines of newspapers. But when you critique the statement, the publication coming from presidency, and you compare that with the reality, then you know that I think there is a game going on. But I'm not a politician. As a professional, we're just looking at it. The perception, yes, a lot of people will want to perceive central bank government, even say he's not running for office again. People may say, oh, it's a politician. But what I would say is I've never heard him said he wants to run for office. It could be that he wants to fight interest. Our law is very technical in a way. He has never said he's running. He has never said he's not running. But what we know is that he felt that he should be able to contest. Whether he wins that or he does not is a different ballgame entirely. So I would not want to say that, of course, everybody will perceive him because of what has happened. I've always seen Mr. Emefiele as a very professional person who, from time to time, especially when he makes presentation after Monetary Policy Committee, what he always says, the policy he wants, how he wants Nigeria to improve and all of those. I was one of the persons that was shocked when the news around his interest in politics came up. I feel that, yes, even if he wants to run for policy, maybe after his tenure, we have seen Governor Sholudo in Anambra State, and I think he's on the right track because he has gathered experience, at the federal level. He was a monetary authority himself, so he knew what the people want, so he could deploy that, to his state. I think Mr. Emefiele could have done the same, but this is a different ball game entirely. But when people perceive him as somebody of interest, I think he has interest because of that particular court matter, and going to the president yesterday and telling the media there will be a news. Whether it's yes or no, it's also an indication of interest. Is it wrong for him to have interest as a person? No. But as the office holder, so the challenge is not Mr. Emefiele. No. He's a Nigerian, and I think he has constitutional right. He has no criminal record, at least to public knowledge, that we have. I don't think so. But because he's also occupying a position that is very sensitive, that is very strategic, and that is very important, I think that is where a number of persons will have issue with his intention.
Okay, now you spoke about primaries. We're also seeing that Naira is expected to crash further, as aspirants mop up dollars. And then experts are also predicting dark days, for the Nigerian economy. Could you just comment around that?
Well, I don't see anything we are doing differently as an economy. And I don't think that, even from those that are running for office, what I've told my friends in the media to ask, they've said they are going to make Nigeria better. Nigeria as a nation better. They're going to improve the economy. They will improve security. I've always asked my friends that are in the media, have you asked how? Do not just tell us this will improve. You want to employ 3 million people within the first 2 years. The question is how? What would you do? Let us know how. Enough of, this man is a man of integrity, just vote for him. You could vote for a man of integrity. He has personal integrity, but he has to work with hundreds or thousands of people without integrity. And the money we miss in the vote. More than ever before, 100 million naira in Nigeria seem as urgent 2K.
Truly.
Everybody seems to have the 100 million. And groups who have left people, poor from Sokoto to Calabar, from Lagos to Borno, people are poor, hungry, and deprived. IMF figures say about 42% of our population. UNDP says in 2018 that more than 90 million of our population are living under multidimensional poverty. We are the groups raising 100 million with the tap of their fingers and buying for people who have not even discussed with them. Why can't they put the monies together? And I think if a group could give 100 million, such group we have more than 1 billion
absolutely
to give. So, but we have poverty, we have hunger. 100 million could start businesses. And more people, part of the 33.1% unemployment the figures that we have, could reduce significantly. So I think the biggest business in this economy today is politics. And unfortunately, the reward from politics is very small when you look at it officially. But unofficially, it's evident in corruption. High level of corruption. That is what is evident. And that's what I think a lot of people are interested. Why would you just raise 100 million? When I saw 100 million, that's what APC has raised, I felt, I don't think more than 2 or 3 people will buy the form. When it got to 10, when it got to 15, I was pleasantly shocked that more people are interested. And if you saw party executive, they said, we raise it to 100 million so that only serious-minded people. And politicians themselves are saying, we are not the one buying it. People are buying for us, and we're expressing shock, though some accepted. And I think one or so have said he didn't ask them to buy. Out of nearly 20 or more, there's a lot for us to worry about as a people, honestly.
Lots to worry about. Just a slight digression. And you have mentioned that in passing when you were talking to us, the issue of the right questions to ask. Given where we are today as a country, I mean, you have followed stories around how 70% of our crude is stolen, internally, how even though it's a windfall globally, we are making next to zero excess accretion to reserves. We have the NNPC that had not contributed a farthing to the Federal Account Allocation Committee in nearly 4 or 5 months, owing to excuses around the subsidy payment or what they choose to call on the recovery. Looking at where we are headed as a country economically and all of these myriad of challenges that befall us, what should be the kind of credentials we should be looking for in who takes the reins of this country come 2023? Because a popular cleric once said, Bishop Cooker if you like, that we are clearly in the emergency ward of a hospital, and the candidate we need is one who will show us how we can come out of admission immediately. As an economist, what kind of credentials should we be looking for, track records, in these persons that will be so saddled with the responsibility come 2023?
We need a man that can combine 2 factors. Each of these factors could be later grouped into 5 different characteristics. The first and the second. We need a man with high level of governance, which is rule of law. If somebody steals, the person should be jailed. There will be nothing like it's from my tribe, it's from my region, or he speaks my language. There are no examples of people that have done wrong. There are no sufficient examples. Number 2, we need a person that is driven, that is drunk with infrastructure. It is the leader that can combine these 2. When President Buhari came on board, we all knew that this was going to fight corruption, but we're not sure it was going to build infrastructure. So let us look at it. Are we better off in 2015 than we are today? When President Jonathan came on board, we were not sure he was going to punish corrupt individuals, but we thought it was going to build infrastructure. Check 2010 till when President Jonathan left. Are we better off than worse off? And you can say the same for other previous presidents. If we are better off, so we need that person whose policy, and some of these politicians, we've known some of the antecedents. So we need to ask, what is your position on rule of law? Not what they will say. We need to go and look at their profile. The insecurity we have today, it is because of poor governance. Again, also because of poor economy. The children we left, you see, when we say we have over 10 million out of school children, what do you expect? In 10 years' time, out of school children will become what?
Out of school adults.
They will become bandits. They will become criminals. They will become quote and unquote agbero. That's what they will become. And they live in the same community called Nigeria. You cannot export them out of your nation because by birth they become citizens of such country. So we are all victims of the attacks because we have refused to educate them. We have refused to program their brain in the right direction. So the elites that feels we can gather small money and house these people to wash their car, to say Rankadede, to say Babake to horse, eventually we will pay. If they don't pay, then children of the elite will pay. And this is exactly what we are seeing. Hundreds of people on Abuja, from Abuja to Kaduna adopted. They are still in the hands of kidnappers as we speak. Even though we want to build infrastructure, but there is no governance. There is no rule of law. For those that were caught before, what example were we able to make? So if you must be a leader of Nigeria of today, it will be worse off if we don't have a leader that can combine the 2. Governance, which is evident in ability to fight insecurity, and by showing example. When people see that politicians have started coming even from the political corridor, those that are doing wrong, those that are stealing, and we have laws. And this reform will start from the judiciary. By the way, after the judiciary, it goes to the police. After the police, it goes to customs. It goes to immigration. These are key, very key agencies of government. So when we are able to do that, what we not make people to continue to do wrong is when the economy becomes viable. And it's not with this our 70-30 or 20-80 budgetary allocation. It should reverse. 80% of our budgetary allocation should go to capital expenditure. I'll give you an example. Even though people say, oh, it's not an ideal society, UAE, the GDP of UAE is over 400 million. The GDP of Nigeria is over 400 million. You wonder why average person in Dubai has high quality of life? You'll be begging people to earn $1,000 salary. Check that here. $1,000 times whatever exchange rate is.
Or 580.
How much is that? A lot of money. You would have to appeal to someone. Drivers earn as much as that. And we are wondering why our medical doctors are running out of Nigeria to go and work there. I don't know if you are with me. So if you don't build the economy, and look at that economy, it has attracted so much infrastructure. What did they do differently? We have seen some African countries also doing that part, wanting to build infrastructure. But we must remember that rule of law is important. Because if you build, bandits will come and blow it off. So you is not going to excuse one for the other. And it's not, you see, the election ahead of us should not be who comes from where. It should not be who is favored by the elites. It should be who is competent, who can give us governance. When I say governance, good governance, which is evidence in rule of law, which is evidence in protection of life and property, and who can build our economy. Most importantly, our infrastructure. Again, population growth. Nigeria is among 2 countries today with highest population growth.
Well, if you don't have anything for the youth to do, what more than to keep reproducing?
Of course. And look at UAE again. The population of indigene is about 1 million. Foreigners about 9 million. Everything about 10 million. To share GDP of over 420. Nigeria, 206 million people. 206 million to share about 430 or 450. And you wonder why we are poor. And guess what? Fertility rate of our women still very high. And I've been to another country you may want to call extremely religious country of Israel. Population growth rate very low. So are we not hypocrites? Are we not hypocrites? Because even Saudi Arabia with so much population growth rate, they have not started creating consciousness among their people. Before, a woman could not drive in Saudi Arabia. It has been changed. Women can now drive. Because as the world becomes more enlightened, we don't throw away our religion, no. But we are saying that within the reality of the world today, how do we live? Because seems to be limited in supply. Right. If population outweighs the resources, then we will suffer.
True.
And this is what many people are not confident of speaking about in Nigeria. We need to control our population. It is just what it is. People say, oh, big population is for defense. Look at our military. They've been fighting. And they've been able to win. So, and we should not demoralize the military, by the way. They are giving their best. But we will not give excuse of military. We want to build military. Our military staff, how many do we have, for instance, in Marine? How many staff? Do we have up to 1 million? The answer is no. Do we have up to 500,000? The answer is no. Do we have up to 50,000? The answer is no. So is it because of our population? And you're wondering why we don't have sufficient men? You know, so for me, I strongly believe government must come up. And the next, because I'm not sure if the incumbent will want to talk about that, but the next government must tell us, how do we control population growth? For economy to grow, if the economy is growing at 2%, population is growing at 3%, no impact. That's what you get.
That's quite a challenge, I must say, for us.
What a fitting way to draw this conversation to a close with us is an economics and senior officer of XPV. I'm talking about Paul Oleje, who has spoken to a myriad of issues and climaxing with the issue of population control, which somehow is beginning to gain some level of attention in public discourse across everywhere. Basically, population control may not necessarily mean birth control, but finding a way to give birth to the number of children within your own economic capabilities, yes, to give them good education, good welfare, and to guarantee, quality meal and avoid stunted growth. And that way you may have been contributing your own quota to the quality of individuals that would be able to do the kind of quality recruitments of leadership that would in turn give back to society
with 30,000 minimum wage. How many should you give birth to? With 42% people by IMF, World Bank projecting the same for us. 42%. How many should we give birth to? With over 80 or 90 million living in multidimensional poverty. For God's sake, our elite leave this country too. And they see for themselves. We cannot manage. Already we have bastardized and abused many Nigerians. And we have left them to get solace by meeting their spouses. How many can we manage?
Interesting. Very big question there, and I'm sure we would have the opportunity in the future to bring back Mr. Paul in the studio and continue to explore this conversation for the sake of our national growth. It's a pleasure to have you spend some time with us this morning and taking you away from your very valuable clients where you offer this very valuable insight and economic advice. Thank you very much for spending